Hi, I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby. James, this season 3 of Dead to Me has quite the beginning for Ben, because he's dealing with the fallout of crashing his car into Jen and Judy. And it's kind of a heavy turn of events for this really affable guy. What was it like bringing this character into much darker territory this season?
Yeah, I mean, it was an emotional journey for sure. His life in the short term is kind of falling apart, and he's steeped in regret and remorse and self doubt and all of these dragons that he's kind of wrestling with, and which makes for fun for the actor, of course, because it's very rich and it gives you a lot to play with and dive into. So yeah, he's. I think every character in this season is being faced with their past and having to reckon with that and figure out what kind of person they want to be moving forward and what do they stand for so like life, the human condition, when it comes and knocks you down, it's what sort of choices you're going to make after that, and those are the ones that define you. So I think Ben's realizing that, or maybe even unconsciously, and we don't always make the right decisions, right? I mean, Ben gets lost in the bottle, and that kind of is a sort of ugly face from his past that rears its head several times. But I think his North Star is Jen, and I think his thoughts and his heart are still pure, even if his self-doubt and self-loathing and all this other stuff, kind of shove that down. So I think he feels safe, he feels comfortable, he feels loved when he's in her presence, and he just wants to be a part of her life. And so that love that he feels from her, even if it feels a little unrequited, is like a lifeline for him, and he just holds on to that with everything that he can. And so, as an actor, it's just so much. There's just so much to play, and it's very much, the sort of Dead to Me playground, right?
Yeah.
These are all the themes we get to explore and dive deep, and open yourself up and be vulnerable and show it all. Anyway, it was a fun season, a challenging one, but a fun, and it's coming to a bittersweet end.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because he's really kind of the third character now to get sucked into this cycle of a cover up and extreme guilt that weighs on him, just like Jen and Judy did. What was your reaction when you first read that you were going to get to go through that?
My reaction was, there's obvious parallels there, and tough to ignore. But I guess the feeling was, there's like you're in this sort of this like storm, and talking about just sort of overall Dead to Me, like all these things sort of swirling around, these themes that keep swirling around, and eventually you're going to get hit by one that's already taken someone else out, and that's, I guess, one of them this season, which is now he's found himself wrapped up in or having to keep a secret, right, and hide something that he's really regretful about. And so I think that's not lost on Liz, and that's not by any stretch accidental, right? To see sort of these sort of parallel storylines of like everything that Jen and Judy have been dealing with from season one, now matched with the same sort of thing that Ben's now having to struggle with, and then all the complexities on top of that, like the interrelationship stuff on top of that, and the secrets they're keeping from one another. I mean, it's like, this is the brilliance of Liz Feldman's, right? Weaving all of these things together and then sort of opening the floodgates and yelling actioning and letting us go with it.
Yeah, I think, and as he's dealing with all that, he starts drinking. This season, I think, dives into his alcohol addiction more and what that means for him. And it seems like in a show that does have such a comedic bent to the darkness, it would be very easy to sort of color that with very broad strokes and go very broad with it. So how did you approach that aspect of him and make that feel very real?
One of the things I love about the show so much is that we're dealing with such heavy ideas and themes and grief, loss, forgiveness, friendship, all these, um, and crime and murder, all this. But how the humor can spring from that, and I think that's the sort of brilliant needle that Liz was able to thread through all of this. And yeah, it's for me, it's like, how do I, you said like his Ben's alcoholism, how do I do this without it feeling like some sort of, it's gotta come from a real place. You gotta really see this guy falling apart. And when you see him falling apart, or these characters falling apart, that's where the humor comes in. Like, sort of perversely, that's where the humor springs from. But you gotta, even with everything, with drama, with comedy, there has to be conviction there. And especially with comedy, right? If you start to wink at the audience, like you start playing things jokey, like you're in on the joke, then that can take them out of it. So it was important to me that, when he's stumbling around kind of saying ridiculous stuff at the party, when he's drinking and singing the song, and that can't feel silly. That's got to feel like this guy is just falling apart. And it's kind of funny to watch, and the stuff coming out of his mouth's kind of funny to hear, but he's a sad sack at that moment, and hopefully you feel for the guy. So to me, it's got to be grounded. It's got to be grounded, and then if the audience believes that you're really suffering, then you can lean into the comedic lines a bit more.
Yeah, I will say it was wonderful to have you singing in a project again, even if it is under the influence singing.
Oh, that's really nice of you to say. I'm always looking for more opportunities to do more with my voice and singing and dancing and all that stuff. But well, more singing than dancing, I'll be
Did you
honest.
get any say in what he was singing, or was that already in the script?
That was in the script. That was in the script. Yeah, and it's a perfect song for the moment. Ironically, it is a song. I told Liz this. Is this a problem? I sang that song like over 20 years ago on Ally McBeal. Completely different setup, completely different
Right.
character, completely different intention behind it all. And then she was like, "I'm not worried about that. This is too perfect of a song here." But yeah, that's the second time I actually sang "You're Always on My Mind" in a TV show. But I don't think that that does anything to mute or take any meaning out of the scene where I do it in this season of Dead to Me. It's kind of perfect that he's just kind of pathetically out there, sadly singing this song drunk. But yeah, I always enjoy it when I get to sing. I want to do it more.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
I know this.
He's definitely no Broadway. He's no like
He's
Ben's
not
real
Hairspray. Yeah.
singer. Then you're like, I have to kind of sound like he can't sing, but can sing enough, because he was in the Holy Harmonies, right? Was the harmony group, the kids choir that they do in Dead to Me. I think it's
Oh
the Holy,
yes, yeah.
when he was a kid. So anyway,
I know this season you did have a pause in production, to give Christina time after she revealed her diagnosis. I'm curious, after you came back from that pause and come back to set, with that happening and spending time away from the material, did anything when you came back sort of read differently to you or hit differently to you? Did you come back with any kind of like
yeah,
new
my
thoughts?
my experience was unique in that they had to shoot me out because of schedulings. There was some overlapping schedules with other projects that it feels like after COVID, everything came back online at the same time. So I had wrapped all of season 3 before Christina got her diagnosis. So I was in touch with her as a friend once she got that diagnosis, and she's just been, I don't want to speak to her experience through this, but from day one, from just meeting her, we worked on Anchorman together, and we worked on this animated film years ago together. So we've known each other for a long time, and she's always been such a supportive and wonderful, wonderful friend, and an incredible talent. And so when we were we were filming together. They were trying to do everything they could to wrap me out, and all I can do is speak to her character and who she is as a human being, and she's just fiercely funny and just so incredibly talented, and one of the more considerate and compassionate human beings that I've ever worked with. So we forged a really strong relationship through the experience of Dead to Me, and I cherish that, and will continue to foster that years to come. And she does the same. She's as much there for me as I am for her.
There's also a really interesting thing that you get to do, which is play twins. And this season, there's a few moments where you have a flashback, and both of them are in a scene together, and it just highlights how absolutely opposite they are. What did you draw on to sort of get Ben's personality? Because I'm assuming he wasn't part of the plan when you first signed on to the show.
Yeah, well, the story there is, you're right. I signed on for the first season playing Steve, who I thought was just kind of a fun D-bag to play, right? It was sometimes those are those characters that are so far from who you are the most kind of delicious creatively to play because one, it's just, he's so absurd and so self-involved, but he's a buffoon, right? Like you want to see the guy fail. So it's always fun to play a guy who thinks he's got his stuff together and just does not. So then and I think Liz, I didn't really know Liz at all. I knew her work, but she hired me after meeting me over Zoom, because Jessica Elbaum and I had worked together on this movie Bachelorette, where I play kind of a similar character to Steve. And I think my impression was that Liz probably thought, oh, okay, I know James, I know his work, I don't know him personally, but maybe he's close enough to Steve in real life that he'll sell it and whatever. And then what happened was, Liz even told me this. She said, as I grew to know you, James, I realized how different you are from that character, and how kind and considerate and sort of emotionally vulnerable you can be. And then she started, the sort of idea for the twins started blossoming in her head when I wrote her an email after the first season saying, congratulations and thank you so much, and are we sure he's dead? I mean, I don't want to leave this party. How can we keep this story going? This was so much fun, and I connected with the other actors and everybody involved so much. And then she came back to me with the twin idea, and it was like, oh, at first I was like, is she being serious or is she not? Is she joking? And then it occurred to me that she was like, yeah, I think we can do this, because I know you now, and I know you, James, as a human being, are so much closer to who Ben is, that I would love to. I think if we anchor that in you, then we're gonna create the contrast, the believable contrast between the two characters. And as an actor, it's so much fun to play, the opposite ends of that spectrum, right? Like you do, and I have to look at it kind of like two separate projects. Like I looked at one as like, okay, I'm doing this movie over here, and then with Ben, I'm in this movie over here, and I'm just pretending like the schedules overlap. So I have to jump from set to set, and that's how I kind of had to, compartmentalize and put blinders on for the character, and then hope when they edit it together that it works.
Well, the concept of twins and dualities has me thinking about your shows right now, because you've gotten the great opportunity with Dead to Me to finish this story out in a really satisfying way. And then I'm a massive sci-fi fan, and when Westworld was canceled, I was screaming no, because we just got you back in such a great way. So I guess a twofold question: is it really difficult? What is it like, just like not being able to maybe answer some questions from a series? And what do you hope, what's your biggest takeaway from getting to actually have a great conclusion to this one?
Well, it's it's fulfilling to end the story like with Dead to Me, the way you want to end it. And along there is, and that's not to say there's not ambiguity there, right? Like it's not,
Sure.
We're not answering every question, but at least creatively as the artist, you're getting to tell the story, or Liz is getting to tell the story and end the story the way she wants to. And I think that that's a victory. it's a little, it's a little frustrating knowing that Westworld, you know, isn't coming back to complete those stories. Not that they wanted to tidy up all of it up in a pretty little bow either, but I do think that there were some. I feel that those stories were not finished, and that's always a bummer. But it's also like you got to kind of realize what's in your power and what's not, and be grateful for the journey that it's given you over the years. And I love that character. I love that family of creative artists on that show, and it was such a special type of show to be a part of, and there's nothing really out there like it. But it's like with life, it doesn't always, you can't plan the whole thing out all the time, and you kind of just have to roll with it. I love the fans of that show. They've been diehard, and it's been, like I said, a really special thing for me to be a part of. But yeah, and I'm just grateful that Teddy got to come back and at least in some form reunite with Dolores / Christina for the fourth
Sure.
season.
Yeah, well, we're very happy that this one got to a more artistically, satisfying conclusion.
Right.
Yeah,
Agreed. In a perfect world, that's how you always want to end it.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations on Dead to Me season 3.
I appreciate that. Thanks for your time.